So this doesn't really have to be, you know, like an expert kind of video, but I figured, you know, I started to talk about this stuff, so let's capture it. One of the things that, like, first of all, I put this is like a painting setup, kind of, right? At first I had it over here. I'm like, okay, that's not really good because the light's coming in this way and I can't see. So I turn it around and I put it up against this. But I'm still not liking it. But let me just tell you about why I did it this way to begin with. Is painting sashes, you don't need a big setup. It doesn't have to be ornate, right? It just has to be functional. As a matter of fact, you don't need a very big space. And I like this one because, see, I'm setting it up on the sawhorses here. When I got my sawhorses, they kind of go back in there, and I'm only using, what, 12 to 16 inches of them, right? And I'm utilizing this, kind of using this as a makeshift easel. You know, I could have an actual easel. That would be good, you know, and I would need a bigger table to put the little easel on. We've done this at the workshops. You know, people actually have actual easels that they put, you know, their window sashes on to paint. But that's kind of why this is the way this is. And, you know, I'm also seeing already that something is missing. And you know what's missing?
Drop cloth.
A drop cloth, exactly. And so I got to put a drop cloth down to catch any paint spills that I might have, you know, because as expert as we all are, you know, magic paint spills happen, right? So, or just paint drops. So that's what's going on there. So anyway, I think we're gonna cut it here. We're gonna.
You're on.
All right. So now we've got just a better setup here. I got my light. Light's really important. Obviously, you can't paint in the dark. And unfortunately, our lights aren't working. But I got my heart down. Now, one of the things that I really want to go over, okay, is what kind of brush to use. All right. And I meant to say, everybody, that everybody needs to go out and get a brush. But we didn't have this conversation, so that now we can have it. Now you can kind of go pick yourself.
Oh, each of us got 2 sizes of brushes in our tool bag that we got.
That's good. You know, maybe we can use those. You know, is that what Donnie's using? You know?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Donnie's using that one. Okay. One of the things somebody will ask me is, what kind of brush do you start with? And I will say, you start with a brush that you have. You know, I think some brushes are better than others. But one of the things I can tell you now is, I've got 2 different brushes here. I've got, I guess this one's a Worcester silver tip, and does it say what kind of, this is Wallen trim. This is a synthetic fiber brush, okay? This was pretty nice, okay? And you can see it's just that I guess is it called a filament? Is that what that is? No. Or anyway, the bristles are man-made, okay? And that's the kind that we would use for, you know, a water-based paint like this Benmore Ultra Spec right there, okay? But on the other hand, the other kind of brush that somebody might see is like, oh look, here's a brush. Let me use that one. Okay, well, you can. This here is a natural bristle brush, okay? And the natural bristle brushes are what we've been using for our primer, all right? So one of the things that you don't want to do is mix the 2 up. It's not appropriate that a person would take their primer brush after having used oil-based primer and then try to put water-based paint on it. No. An oil-based brush is a dedicated oil-based brush, and I guess there could be a situation where somebody could in an emergency, clean it and use it, but I can't really imagine that those emergencies happen very, very often. You know what I'm saying? I think it'd be probably better, to use a chip brush, than to go through what it takes to, the situations don't occur. But if you know that the natural bristle brushes are for the oil-based products, okay, that's it. So I wanted to point that out right off the bat, so that, because these are laying around, right? And I didn't want somebody to go say, oh, there's a brush, and start using it for water-based paints. I've experienced that exact same phenomenon in my classes, where I thought that we talked about only using natural bristle brushes for oil, but apparently I didn't make the point strong enough. And so I still went and got it, and it'll take some time, for some people to get it, but synthetic bristles, all right? And so anyway, so what are we doing here? We are painting Sash. And as you guys might guess, the way that I like to do things like this, when we heat gun the profiles, we have it sitting up like this, and we work on this right here. And when we prime, I like to prime in this down position right here, and only work on this section right there. I don't like to go up and all this kind of stuff. I like to work in this position because naturally gravity will assist my product to flow out of the brush when I have it in this position. If I have it in this position, gravity doesn't change and it still flows in relation to gravity. So I don't like that, because then the paint will get up into the, I'm not sure what this thing is called up there. It's got a name. Ferrule, is that what it's called? Maybe Ferrule. Maybe I'm saying that right. Some of you guys who are watching this video are going to be thinking to yourself, "Man, this guy's not a painter." And that's and nothing can be further from the truth. No, nothing can be closer to the truth. I'm really not a painter. How I started painting is because I couldn't find anybody in our modern culture who really took seriously the idea of protecting our work. Because we've gone through a lot of work to get it to this stage, have we not? Okay, a lot of time has gone and effort has been spent to get this to a point where, the glazing looks good. It's been stripped of all the old paint and stuff like that. Once you get it looking like that, okay, somebody has to intentionally come and seal that in, okay, and make it look really good, okay. I would rather it just look okay and perform well than not perform well, but if you can make it look okay with practice, you can make it look really good, okay. And so that's why I say when somebody says, "Steve, what brush do I start with?" It's like, well, the one you have. And I would say, even if you have the only brush that you have is the wrong brush, the natural bristle brush, whatever. Okay, you have to start so that you can have an opinion, a realistic opinion, an authentic opinion about the brushes that you're using. Okay, it's not enough to say, oh, I'm just going to use any old brush. You need to be good enough to where you prefer one thing or the other. And I will say this too, is that when you find that spot where something's working for you, you find your groove, you're gonna find that you're going to reach for the tool. When you give it a choice, you're gonna say, "Oh, I like this brush better because," and you have an opinion. See what I'm saying? All right. So what happens is your tools, you develop an affinity for, you develop a relationship with, an understanding with, okay? And you understand how to use them. They're your tools, right? And they become an extension of you. So, you start off with what's available to you, and you keep on going, and you practice your movements and master your movements. Well, eventually you develop an opinion. So, and that's what this is about. So, I'm not the best painter, you know. I'm functional at best. Okay. Now I can be pretty good, but I got to get in my groove. You know what I'm saying? And once I get in my groove, I'm okay. So, what I'm doing now, I mean, we've already sanded this down. Okay. Kind of taking our primer, made it smooth again. So I'm just getting all my dust off with this and making sure I breathe some of it into my lines, because that's what I like to do. I like to breathe primer dust into my lines. So anyway, when I go to paint this, one of the things I want you to notice is how little paint I put on here. Okay. Any more than a finger, it's too much, okay, in my opinion. Another thing you're not going to see me do is you're not going to see me scrape it against the side of the can. All I'm going to do is just go in, I'm just going to gently dip it in, just like that, okay? And look how much paint I got on there. Does that look like a lot?
Nope.
It's not a lot, all right? But it'll start to build up in there, but, you know, you don't need a lot, because look. One thing about painting white on white, you can't really see it. See how I'm just going gently here. I'm going starting in the corner. I'm gonna drag it along. I want to get my material onto the profile here, okay? And I'm creeping up on it. See? Just gently creeping up to where I'm going to touch the glass pretty soon. See that? Okay. I touched the glass right there. Good. So I'm going to come back in here and let's see if I can. There you go. There you go. So that's good. Okay. See the orientation of my brush? See how it goes with the length I'm painting? Like, you can do this, and sometimes you need to do that to kind of straighten stuff out. But as you're applying it, you know, if you're trying to cut your line like this, it's going to be insufficient. You know, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to do a good job. You know, the way you cut in a line is to go with the flow, right? You're going to go this direction. See how I'm going this like that? Okay. And the other thing too, you have to pay attention to if you're going to do good work. You know, if you don't want to do good work, you can paint it any old way. You know, okay. But see how I had some drippies here down at the bottom, okay? You know, I'm just before I go anywhere else, I'm going to make sure that those are smoothed out, okay? Like that. And then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. All right, get a little bit on there. There you go. Just a little bit, okay? Not a lot.
I see how you're using gravity when you dip your paint to avoid having to scrape the brush on the edge of the can. You use the gravity and hold it up so it won't drip all over the place.
You don't put a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I got a big old pool right there. Oh, like now, let's see. Isn't that nice? Okay. Okay. Now, let me show you something, okay? See that little spot right there? Here, this one here, okay? See the little hole right there? I got one right there, okay? All right, I want to fill that in, but the reason I have to fill that in is because our bedding of our glass doesn't create the bridge that it could. You see? If our bedding creates the bridge that it could, then that little thing, I made it disappear, okay? But that's kind of what you know, when you're, that's like the connection of, you know, when you know the work all the way through from beginning to end, okay? Then it starts to inform how you do the jobs in the beginning, so that when you're doing the job at the end, you know, you've eliminated some steps because of your experience, right? So, turn here. So like in some of our prep, say you're gonna see, we didn't put any spackle here, okay? See that? Because we didn't put any spackle there, we don't have a bridge. And this is on the bottom sash, okay? Because you know we don't put any glazing putty in here to begin with, okay? So you're gonna expect to have to put some kind of a spackling there to create that bridge from the molding to the glass, okay? Right? And you know, with a little bit of practice and a couple of times of doing this, you'll see, you know, okay, I would rather take the time, you know, spackle this, you know, to fill it a little bit so that I have a better bridge, because if you're going to do a nice paint job, you know, you want your paint to lap up onto the glass, right? So if I'm going to come over here and do that, you know, it's going to be hard to get a good lap all the way, you know, so it laps up onto the glass and seals it properly if there's not a proper bridge there, okay? And one of the things, I mean, we're going to do a couple of coats anyway, so you can always come back and give it a second shot, you know. But you can see I've got some missing spots there, and at this particular place, okay, you probably have forgiveness, because, you know, that's where a spot nobody's ever going to see, okay? But if you want to do your best work, okay, you'll want that filled in too, okay? So here we go. Okay. So last one, okay? 4 turns. And then what we'll do is we'll paint the flats, okay? Put a coat on the flats. And once you kind of get in your rhythm, you can lay this layer of paint on there pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta find your groove. You know what I'm saying? See that? See that? I got it done. See that? So now, what I'm going to do, take this here. Now I'm going to do my flats. Okay. So what you should be doing here is allowing, you know, as you do this, look, you're going to notice prep that you could have done better, right? That's why it's important that you paint the sashes that you prep, right? Because you want to learn how to control all of that kind of stuff, okay? But now, yeah, if you're in a team, now once everybody kind of is on the same page, okay, and everybody knows like how to really prep a window sash, okay, then, you know, teamwork is really good. But when you're learning, you know, you want to develop your opinion, you know, because what you're trying to do is, look, wouldn't it be nice if you could have like the most awesome paint job ever, what does it take to build the most awesome paint job? You know, it's, you know, first, I mean, you got to know that an awesome paint job is possible. Okay. You know, second, you know, you got to know internally, you know, how to go through all the steps that are going to give you the paint job that you want. You know what I'm saying? See? This is. This paint's going to take a couple.
So what if you do make a mistake, which we are going to make, you get too much paint on the glass? What's the correct way to clean it off?
Well, if you have a rag, okay, and it's the right kind of paint glop, you can just wipe it off immediately, okay?
But how do you maintain that edge? It's going to sort of smear around.
How do you maintain the edge?
Yeah, I mean, if you sort of slop it over on the glass, and then.
Well, I think in the beginnings, you're going to do that, okay? And one of the things I hesitate to show, I hesitate to show you the tricks to clean it off the glass, you know, because if you know those tricks, then you might be a little more cavalier and less attentive to your style and your techniques as far as applying it and keeping it off the glass. You know, I found that to be the case a lot of times too, you know, where I show people, you know, how to clean it off the glass very nicely and very quickly, you know, so then that becomes their way, you know. I think the way is learning how to not need that, you know. So, anyway. Last thing, I guess, is look, that's done, okay? What meaning, I can't take that any further without getting paint all over my hands. Maybe I can go set it up over there to dry and I can get another one, but in the meantime, I've got my favorite resting pot. See that? Okay. I got a resting pot, put my brush in, there's water in there, so that I don't have to clean it right away. I can get my next sash, I can keep the process going. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put a coat on that. And when I'm not talking and, you know, I'm in my groove, you know, that might take 5 or 10 minutes, you know, to put a coat on there, put it over there, grab another one. So you should be able to do, I don't know, what, 5 or 6 an hour coats, maybe less, maybe more, you know, somewhere in there. You know, so, you know, time it out that way. How many sash can you fully coat in a day? So 4 coats, you know, 4 coats is going to take you, I think, half an hour, 45 minutes. You know, so 45 minutes of sash. You know, you can probably do 8 to 10 sashes a day pretty easy. You know, once you're set up, ready to go. You know, maybe more. You know, once you get in your groove, you can fly through this stuff. You know, because it takes a while to get in your groove. So anyway, so there's that.
About how long for a coat to dry?
Different conditions, you know, I mean, I'd give it at least an hour, you know, but, you know, it'll take longer on a cold day, you know, it'll be faster on a warm day. Wind helps it, you know, sun, you know, all those variables. But so I'm gonna take this now here, and I'm gonna put it. No, I'm gonna do kind of like what we're doing right there. There we go. Because I didn't paint the bottom. So. And the next one, you can put it right there. That'll be good. So.
Are we good?
I think so.
All right.